Well, greetings, Berks County Americana Fest. My name is Damian Drago. I'm here to play a little music for you and tell you some stories. And I am a local elementary school teacher. I teach at Governor Mifflin. I live here in Shillington, right in the heart of the Berks County Americana region. And one of the things I love to do is I love to bring my guitar into the classroom. I love to write songs that tell stories about things of our past. And so I'm going to do that a little bit today. Some of the songs will be more little kid-like, but I think everybody can enjoy these. They tell a story, and it's very important that we remember the stories of our past. And today we're going to go on a journey. We're going to start out way back in colonial times when the first immigrants came here to Pennsylvania, and I'm going to take you through sort of some history lessons from the Revolutionary War era all the way through to the Civil War, and then I'll stop there. And that'll be my set. That's sort of the time period I teach in the classroom. So that's what I'll stick to today. Wrote a bunch of songs, and I'll play a couple that aren't mine as well. I don't know about you, but I love when I'm driving around or walking around the neighborhood, I love thinking about what it would have been like here, right here where we live, hundreds of years ago when the first immigrants came here from Germany or from other European countries. I just want to know what it looked like, what it felt like. And just the other day, we were driving around in the Ole Valley just for something to do, and we found a road called Mountain Mary Road. And I thought about all the stories I've heard about her, and I tried to put myself back on that mountain hundreds of years ago just to capture that feeling. And paintings do that for me too, of the area. There's some paintings of the valley from Neversink Mountain, of Reading that I really like, and also the one that strikes close to my home here in Shillington. There's some really neat paintings of the Berks County almshouse that was torn down in the mid 1900s, but there were some paintings dated back to the late 1800s that I just look at and I think about as I'm driving on my campus at Governor Mifflin. I just want that feeling of what it would have been like. So I'm going to start my set out with a song. It's an old song. Nobody even knows who wrote it. They say it's an old Pennsylvania Dutch folk song. It's been redone many, many times over the years. It's called When I First Came to This Land. I did not write this song, obviously, but this is how I'm going to start the set out. And hopefully this gives you a feeling. This gives me a feeling of what it could have been like in our region in the 1600s, early 1700s. It's called When I First Came to This Land. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I bought myself a shack, and I did what I could, and I called my shack Break My Back. Well, the land was sweet and good, and I did what I could. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I bought myself a farm, and I did what I could, and I called my farm the muscle in my arm. I called my shack Break My Back. Well, the land was sweet and good, and I did what I could. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I got myself a cow, and I did what I could, and I called my cow No Milk Now. I called my farm the muscle in my arm. I called my shack Break My Back. Well, the land was sweet and good, and I did what I could. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I got myself a duck, and I did what I could, and I called my duck Out of Luck. I called my cow No Milk Now. I called my farm the muscle in my arm. I called my shack Break My Back. Well, the land was sweet and good. Well, I did what I could. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I got myself a wife, and I did what I could. And I called my wife, run for your life. I called my duck, out of luck. I called my cow, no milk now. I called my farm, the muscle in my arm. I called my shack, break my back. Well, the land was sweet and good, and I did what I could. When I first came to this land, I was not a wealthy man. So I got myself a son, and I did what I could. And I called my son, my work is done. I called my wife, run for your life. I called my duck, out of luck. I called my cow, no milk now. I called my farm, the muscle in my arm. I called my shack, break my back. Well, the land was sweet and good, and I did what I could. You know, one of my favorite things to teach in the classroom is the Revolutionary War era. And part of the reason is, you know, right here in Pennsylvania, we're right in the heart of all of that stuff. And so the kids find it fascinating to know that right here where we're sitting and standing, you know, some really important areas during the American Revolution. And one of the things I tried to do a couple years ago was write a song that sort of summarized the whole Revolutionary War in about 4 minutes. So I'm going to sing that for you now. It's called the Continental Ballad. It's from the perspective of the Continental soldier under George Washington. It goes like this. It officially began on the Lexington Green. A war like this just hadn't been seen. Ragtag farmers with their weapons in hand went up against the greatest power in all the land. At Bunker Hill, the Americans showed they would not lay down, but they'd bear the heavy load of a long and bloody and tiresome fight. They had to keep going for what they knew was right. Then a man named Washington, he came to the front. A soldier and a leader, he seemed to have no want. He led the siege of Boston and the city was theirs. There was no time to rest because they had to prepare, yeah. They gave the Brits chase down to New York town. They'd been beaten back, but they wouldn't go down. The redcoats, they mustered up all of their strength. They hid with force and they pushed us to the brink. The Continentals fled through New Jersey. How they could win this war, it was very hard to see. But they crossed the river and they won at Trenton. They followed with an encore over in Princeton, yeah. Meanwhile in New York, Horatio Gates gave Americans hope, not a second too late. He soundly defeated the British attack, which persuaded the French that they could have our back. At Valley Forge, Washington dug in a winter of rest, and then they'd go for the win. The cold proved tough, but they came out alive. The Continental Army showed that they would survive, yeah. For the next 3 years, momentum would build. The Patriots' dreams were about to be fulfilled. A series of fights in the West and the South gave the lobster backs a good punch at the mouth. It came to an end in a place called Yorktown. The trumpet of liberty was about to sound. With the help of France, the British Army was done. A triumph for Washington. The battle was won, yes it was. Continental Ballad is what I've just sung. From all these events, a new nation has sprung. A country where Americans can be on their own. To all men and women, the light of freedom was shown. It's the Revolutionary War in 4 minutes. So if I ask you who the most infamous traitor in American history would be, you could probably tell me right away his name. Of course, it's Benedict Arnold. And he's got a very interesting story. And I decided to write a song from his perspective. And you might learn something new in this song. It's called Arnold. This is his story. And here it goes. Fighting was fierce in the cold and snowy north. We gave it our best, but came up a little short. But we scored our revenge on the Saratoga field. Well, I am Benedict Arnold, I'm a soldier to be feared. Displayed my honor for the patriot dream. Thought the Continental Congress might appreciate me, but I watched them promote 5 junior officers. Well, I am Benedict Arnold and I need what I deserve. Well, some say that I had treacherous thoughts, a traitor to my country and my kin. Well, I say that I am the one who has been wrong. I am Benedict Arnold. You will know me from now on. Yeah. Well, they put me in charge down in Philadelphia. I lived pretty large, some thought I was corrupt. They court-martialed me, my reputation's now stained. Well, I am Benedict Arnold and I'm not what I seem. Well, this lack of respect pushed me toward the enemy. They were willing to talk, this would change my destiny. With their promise of honor, my switch was now complete. I am Benedict Arnold, I'll go down in history. Well, some say that I had treacherous thoughts, a traitor to my country and my kin. Well, I say that I am the one who has been wrong. Well, I am Benedict Arnold, and you'll know me from now on. I was stationed to lead the fort at West Point. They told me to make it stronger, but I'd sorely disappoint. Because I sent the fort's plans to the British in New York. Well, I am Benedict Arnold, do you think my thoughts are dark? Well, that spy that I sent was quickly captured. My betrayal is revealed and now I fear the worst. Washington was on his way to see the work I've done. Well, I am Benedict Arnold and now I need to run. And Washington came expecting us to meet. Confusion set in and I was nowhere to be seen. Someone handed him a note saying what had taken place. Well, Arnold is a traitor with the British, now he's safe, yeah. Well, some say that I had treacherous thoughts, a traitor to my country and my kin. Well, I say that I am the one who has been wronged. Well, I am Benedict Arnold. Yes, I'm Benedict Arnold, and you'll know me from now on. I'm gonna sing one more Revolutionary War era song for you, and I hear a lawnmower in the background, but what are you gonna do? I couldn't get quiet in the house or not outside either. It's neighborhood living. But anyway, if you go to Chester County, which isn't too far from around here, there is a field and a monument in the field, and it's the site of what was called the Paoli Massacre in the Revolutionary War. And the quick story of it is that during the Brandywine campaign in the Revolutionary War, Anthony Wayne, who was general in the American Army, a portion of the Continental Army was sort of trailing the British Army, trying to keep them from getting to places like Reading, trying to cut them off and sort of like harass the back of their line to distract them while Washington was doing some other things. And one of the things that happened was this thing called the Paoli Massacre. A lot of people don't even know about it, but Anthony Wayne and his men were camped out around Malvern, and during the night the British led a secret attack upon the Continental soldiers, and it was really interesting because the British soldiers and the Hessians and everybody else involved with it, they took out the flints from their guns. The order was not to fire any shots, but instead they were to use their bayonets, and that's exactly what they did. They surprised the Continentals in the evening, and they gave them supposedly no quarter, didn't allow any of them to surrender, and a few dozen people were killed. American soldiers were killed during that little battle. And from that day forward, members of the Continental Army, particularly next in the Battle of Germantown, used the phrase "Remember Paoli" as a rallying cry. And so this is a song about that night. It's called "Remember Paoli." We were still drying out from the battle of the clouds, still tasted the fight at the Brandywine Creek. We'd been left behind with Mad Anthony Wayne. Keep the enemy close for Philadelphia's sake. Silent the tread, no flint in the gun. A gleam from the blade, the British marched on. Burst into our camp, they ran us clean through. Caught unaware, only one thing to do. Remember Paoli, that terrible night. Waves in the darkness, that black and red tide. They gave us no quarter but the bayonet edge. Remember Paoli, we shall meet again. Remember Paoli, remember Paoli. Chaos ensued, a scattered retreat. They gave us no mercy in that bloody scene. Some barely escaped, and our plan was a wreck. We must have vengeance, let us never forget. Remember Paoli, that terrible night. Waves in the darkness, that black and red tide. They gave us no quarter but the bayonet edge. Remember Paoli, we shall meet again. Remember Paoli, remember Paoli. The day has arrived road on the Germantown road. 2 weeks have passed, but our memories still burn. Fix your bayonets, boys, we're bound for revenge. Well, onward we charge, and this message we send. Remember Paoli, that terrible night. Waves in the darkness, that black and red tide. They gave us no quarter but the bayonet edge. Remember Paoli, we shall meet again. Remember Paoli, remember Paoli, remember Paoli, remember Paoli. I've written some other songs, not Revolutionary War era based, but a little bit later during the 1800s, during the period of the Underground Railroad. All those stories really fascinated me over the years, and so I tried to write a couple songs that sort of capture some of the feelings during that time period. And it's interesting that Pennsylvania played a crucial role in things like the Underground Railroad and the abolitionist movement. And the Quakers in Philadelphia, you know, some credit them for really starting that whole idea of the Underground Railroad. And this first song I'm going to sing about that time period is about a guy named Levi. Levi Coffin is his name. And throughout the years, he became known as sort of the unofficial president of the Underground Railroad. And it all stemmed from something that happened to him when he was a little boy. In North Carolina. He came from a Quaker family, moved from up north down to North Carolina, had a farm, and he saw something one day that when he was 7 years old that really affected him for the rest of his life. And so that's what this song is about. And whenever I go out to schools and things like that, or in my classroom, and do the presentation on the Underground Railroad, I make sure I always sing this song for the little kids. And sure enough, a lot of times when I sing this song, I'll see some tears in the eyes, and it just shows you that even when you're young, you can really have sympathy and empathy for people. And so this song is called Levi, and it's the story of something that happened to him when he was very young. Standing outside in the Carolina sun, in front of his daddy's farm. 7 years old, not a care in his heart. His life had just begun. A line of men strung together with chains, shuffling on the way. Closer they came, the more it was clear there was suffering in each face. And what was coming down the road would change his world forever when the face of slavery walked past his home. Yeah, yeah. Well, Levi didn't know what the men could have done to deserve this kind of shame. Oh, little did he know about the prejudice of man. It was the root of all this pain. Well, Father called out to the men as they passed, well, asking them what happened. Took us from our wives and took us from our homes, and they stole us from our children. And what was coming down the road would change his world forever when the face of slavery walked past his home. Slaves kept on walking in a row, fading out from the scene. But Levi never forgot what he saw. That picture would stick with him. And he grew up promising to do what he could to help any slave escape. He'd hide him in his home and show him where to go on the Underground Railroad train. And what was coming down the road would change his world forever when the face of slavery walked past his home. And Levi thought about his own dad. If he was ripped away from all the love they had, and this helped him feel the slave's agony, and he would spend his life to help and make them free, yeah. And what was coming down the road would change his world forever when the face of slavery walked past his home. Story of Levi Coffin would free many, many slaves on the Underground Railroad. You know, Levi Coffin was an abolitionist, and he helped slaves on the Underground Railroad. He was known as a peaceful man. He was a Quaker. This next person I'm going to sing about is known as an abolitionist, but not as a peaceful man. And he is a perplexing figure in American history. You might have guessed I'm talking about John Brown, and he's always fascinated me. I can't figure out whether he was good, bad, or probably somewhere in between. This song is called Old John Brown. I'm born in the cool New England air, where belief ran deep and folks were steeped in prayer. John was raised to treat people fair, no matter what their skin color, yeah, he didn't care. He grew up quick, and things became tough. He lost a wife, some kids, his life was pretty rough. His businesses failed, he was serious and gruff, and when it came to slavery, he said this land had had enough. Old John Brown, were you a righteous man? Old John Brown, were you a wicked man? Old John Brown, were you just crazy, man? Well, old John Brown, I can't figure you out. No. So we made his cause in life to free all the slaves, fighting for their freedom till he'd lay in his grave. He hatched up a plan where we'd need to be brave. He said, I'll break the slaves' bonds and their lives I will save. Well, he and his boys went to Kansas out west. Keeping slavery out was a one single quest. His anger burned bright, he seemed a man possessed when they killed 5 men who thought that keeping slavery was best. Old John Brown, were you a righteous man? Old John Brown, were you a wicked man? Old John Brown, were you just crazy, man? Well, old John Brown, I can't figure you out. A few years later, his plan was done, to Harper's Ferry to finish what he had begun. He captured the town and most every gun, and then they'd arm all the slaves and put the masters on the run. Well, Brown and his men made the raid at night. At first it seemed like nobody would put up a fight, but then the town awoke and responded with might. John Brown was surrounded, no escape in sight. Oh, John Brown, were you a righteous man? Oh, John Brown, were you a wicked man? Oh, John Brown, were you a crazy man? Oh, John Brown, I can't figure you out, no. The raid quickly failed, leaving many men dead. John's idea of slaves uprising seemed like it would never spread. But 2 years later, Civil War would start, and though John Brown was hung, we know his raid had lit a spark. Oh, John Brown, were you a righteous man? Oh, John Brown, were you a wicked man? Oh, John Brown, were you just crazy man? Oh, John Brown, I can't figure you out. No, no. Of course, shortly after John Brown was hung, it was in 1859. 2 years later, Civil War would start in our country, battle between the North and the South, ultimately ending slavery in 1865. And we are privileged to live so close to Gettysburg, and I'm sure many of you have been there. And if you go to a little hill called Little Round Top, right up above Devil's Den, you can find in the woods a plaque dedicated to the 20th Maine. You probably know their story, a lot of you. Their commander, Joshua Chamberlain, was very brave, and he was told to hold the line at all costs, and he had some fierce fighters from Alabama charging up the hill toward them, and when they ran out of ammo, they took other measures. And if you've seen the movie Gettysburg or read anything about it, you know it's pretty outstanding. So this song is about the 20th Maine. It's called Chamberlain's Men, and it goes like this. It's been over a year since we left our homes through the heat and dirt. We walked down the Dixieland and ended up in Fredericksburg. The battle was fierce and it was tough. Many a good boy died. And even though we lost that night, we held our heads up high. Hey ho, we're the 20th Maine, we're gonna chase that rebel yell. Let's fix our bayonets on, boys, and charge right down that hill. Hey ho, we're the 20th Maine, we're gonna follow Chamberlain, and we'll run them Alabama boys right back down to Maryland. Yeah, the man is named Chamberlain, a teacher was his trade. But he laid all those books aside, yep, he could not be swayed. Freedom was his cause in life, you know it's worth the price. Well, you take away man's liberty, then he'll put up a fight. Hey ho, we're the 20th Maine, we're gonna chase that rebel yell. Let's fix our bayonets on, boys, and charge right down that hill. Hey ho, we're the 20th Maine, we're gonna follow Chamberlain, and we'll run them Alabama boys right back down to Maryland. Hey ho, we're the 20th Maine, we're gonna chase that rebel yell. Let's fix our bayonets on, boys, and charge right down that hill. Hey ho, we're the 20th Maine, we're gonna follow Chamberlain, and we'll run them Alabama boys right back down to Maryland. Well, there you have it. That's a little sampling of some of the history songs that I've written, amongst some others. It was just a little taste, a little walk through history, taking you through Revolutionary War, all the way through the Civil War, And I hope you all enjoyed them. And thanks to Dave Klein and his efforts putting this together. I know everybody misses being together with this event, but I appreciate what's been going on through this whole thing. Take care. We'll see you later.